Testing, testing, testing. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm waiting for everyone to join us and connect to audio. Wonderful. Good afternoon, Lamard. I appreciate all your chats. Thank you. All right. Still missing a handful of people, but I want to take the very first few minutes of today's workshop and then check in with everyone. So if you have not experienced unmuting yourself and turning on your video, if you so choose, please feel free to do so today. We've been doing this now for a week together, and we're on to our second week. Oh, someone else joined. Just a second. And I wanted to take an opportunity to make this a little bit more of a conversation, a little bit more like a real class. So I'd like to ask the group, how did you guys feel like you did with PowerPoint? I did receive homework from a handful of you. I really appreciate the time that you did, and all of you who submitted, you know who you are. Thank you. And you all did exactly what I asked. So thank you very much. So how do you feel you did? It was horrible. Would you care to elaborate? I'd like to hear a bit more about your horrible experience with PowerPoint, if you don't mind. Could you share with the class? And I'm sorry, I don't know your name. I just see your email address.
My system is crashed. It won't let it work. So IT is still working on it. So it was too much trouble for me.
I'm sorry to hear that you're having the technical problem variety. Unfortunately, we all deal with it. Are you using one of the iView notebooks?
Yes.
Yes, okay. I am using one right now as myself, and I am happy to report that it's working for me just fine. So I have faith that tech support will work with you and get your machine working the way it should. I personally, on this machine though, have had some licensing issues because I use multiple different accounts with Microsoft, and the account that I use for my work, believe it or not, does not have licensing for the desktop applications like the Microsoft Office suite. However, the account that was given to me from the Access Tech program for the purpose of these trainings does have that license, but apparently I haven't logged into it properly, so I've been dealing with that, and that's my technical support issue as well. So I wanted to ask, has anyone else had licensing issues with their Office products? You can give me a show of hands. You can unmute yourself and say, I get the unlicensed product alert. Not seeing any hands, so that's looks like a good sign, other than the tech support issue. All right, so how are we doing overall with our understanding of Microsoft Office? Is there anything, are there any comments that that could help me improve today? Miss Grubbs, thank you very much for the name. I appreciate that. All right. Well, does anyone remember what we were going to learn about today? This is your pop quiz. I want to hear why you showed up for class today. Put it in the chat. Lamar
Excel.
wants to learn Excel. I heard Miss Grubbs Excel. Anyone else? Why did you come to class? Tracy said Excel. Would those that understand it, what Excel is, would you think that it is considered one of the more complicated of the Office pieces of software? If you agree, go ahead and raise your hand or let me know. I get a hand here. Okay. Well, Elaine, I'm inclined to agree with you. And we are saving Excel for Thursday, the last of our 4-part series on Microsoft Office. And the reason is I want everyone to have a much more familiar understanding with the rest of the Office suite first, because not only can Excel become complicated, I also want to make sure that we can give us more time. And if we can breeze through the rest of it, great. Excel is incredibly versatile, and it is probably the most useful tool of all the products for simply organization of information and movement of data. Show of hands, because this isn't an Excel class today, but today we're actually going to be talking about Microsoft Outlook and Teams. But I have a feeling that we can probably go a bit faster on this and perhaps even give it a quick intro on Excel. Got it. Elaine, I appreciate that comment. There are a ton of time savers that can be had in Outlook. As far as keyboard shortcuts, we can get to that. There's only a handful that or maybe just 2 or 3 that I found useful over the years. Most of the time savings and tips and tricks stuff is actually buried a little bit deeper into the piece of software. It can actually do some automations, some simple automations, and we can get to that. All right, let us see here. Anyone else have any comments before we get started today? Any questions overall? I am here for you. My goal is to make sure that everyone takes something home with them today. I'm trying to look at the camera. Any other questions before we begin? All right then. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And we'll get started that way. All right. I want to make sure that I can still see our chat. And let's go ahead and take the poll today. Should be up on your screen now. If you could, everyone give me a little bit of feedback so that I know where we are. And depending on that will depend on how quickly we move. Awesome. All right. We have a little bit of everything today. All right. So we will start at the beginning. We've got a couple first timers, and well, I'd say three. Three of us have very little experience with it, which is totally understandable and totally acceptable because that's why we're here today. All right. So just like every other piece of Office software, we're going to begin by opening. So where do you find Office? Well, it's, sorry, Outlook. You can find it in the Start menu. When you click, you can also scroll down, and we're looking for Outlook, so it's going to be under O. Now, you're also probably wondering, why would someone have or need to use Microsoft Outlook? And this is a chance for people to chime in if you'd like, but I'd like to know who here uses Microsoft Outlook for sorry, a couple more people are joining us. Who here uses Microsoft Outlook for their work environment? I like to see show of hands. All right, got it. All right, thank you. Got your thumbs up, Elaine. Thanks very much for that. All right, so one person uses it for work. Does anyone use it on their home machine, just using it for regular emails? Catherine, Elaine, wonderful. Does anyone use the calendar functions? All right, I got a couple thumbs up for calendars. Nice. Okay. All right. So we're going to just go ahead and open it. Don't forget, you can find it in the Start menu. You can also type to search. And Catherine, you too. And Ms. Grubbs, understand. Wonderful. All right. So opening Microsoft Outlook. If you have not opened it yet, you're going to be asked to log in. Now, logging in, sorry, they just put it behind all the other applications. Making it very difficult for me to open my Outlook right now. Forgive me here. Okay, there we go. All right, so once you get it open, you'll have to log in. And if it's the first time, it's going to be that same username and password that was provided with your computer. All right. So now when you log in, it'll take you to your main screen. And there's a lot to look at here. But one thing should look familiar. It will show you your ribbon at the top, just like we've had in all of the other pieces of software like PowerPoint, Word. So Outlook is very similar. All right, so one thing that we can see right here at the top, now this is my HBC account, and notice it's also still giving me the unlicensed product warning. This may or may not cause an issue, we'll see. Anyway, so by default, you're going to arrive at your inbox. Now, on the far left of the screen, we see our navigation. So the navigation is going to start with our favorites, and these are customizable. Then we're going to see the main account that we have logged in. And then way down here at the bottom, we can see the major functions of Microsoft Outlook. So here it looks like an envelope, that's email. To the right of that is calendars. And here, well, this is your contact list. And then there are others. We click this. We can also manage our folders, our notes, which I don't necessarily recommend using notes here. There are other applications for that. But tasks is something that you may use and may find valuable. All right, so let's focus on email first. If you're going to set up a new email, and by the way, when you click File, this is the only thing that's going to look different. This is what they call the Backstage view, and it's the same again on all of the other pieces. And Miss Grubbs, do you see the shared screen? You might just have to press Alt-Tab on your computer, and then you'll be able to find me. All right. So here in the Backstage view, this is where you can customize the application and your account. So for example, here I'm logged in as my Microsoft Exchange account with the Hispanic Business Center. Now, you can add more accounts to this, and you can simply just click the Add Account button, and a new pop-up is going to occur, searching for accounts. Well, in this case, I'm going to add the account that has the license. And this would be what it's like when you open for the very first time. So the license is under a different name. Type your email address in. It's going to go find it. And if this doesn't work, I'm just going to show you as an example of the very first step. And if this is what it would look like the very first time you open Outlook. But most people will have Microsoft Outlook that is going to be pre-set up for them, especially if they are being given a machine or given an account in a work setting. And that's typically where you find Microsoft Outlook. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and close this because it's probably just going to take too long. But anyway, that's where you start by adding a new account. You can also add other accounts. So for example, perhaps we can add a Gmail account. Now we can do that the same way. Press Add Account. And all right, so I'm going to delete that one and type in a Gmail account that we can connect. As an example. All right, so now the Google login piece comes up. So then you have to give Google permission to Microsoft Outlook in order to check the emails. All right, so it's found my email address. I think I just have to type in the password. All right, and then we're going to allow it to read and access accounts. This is my spam email, so I don't really use this one. It's just used for examples. And notice how it's connecting under IMAP. IMAP is a method or a protocol used to synchronize in email between a server and a client. You might be wondering, server client, it sounds pretty technical. It's the most basic or the true way of explaining what Microsoft Outlook is. Microsoft Outlook is considered a client application for email, amongst many other things. So a server is literally a computer in somebody else's warehouse somewhere that actually holds the email messages and communicates with the internet on your behalf. That's all it is. There's nothing more technical to it, and that's all you need to know. So great. A Gmail account is done. So set up, I just press done, and look at where it is. It shows up right down here on my bottom left, and it says inbox, outbox, and it's loading all my folders as it synchronizes. We're not going to go ahead and wait for all that, but notice that it's just a secondary account. So now I can add this inbox to my favorites. I can just drag it up here and it'll show me which inbox I'm looking at. Trying to click on the HB Center mailbox. Yeah, this is definitely spam. All right. So when you're looking at your inbox, you will notice that it's going to automatically select the top message and put that in the preview pane. And you'll also see that sometimes the emails look kind of funny, just like this one. And it says right here that to protect you, it's not going to show the photos that are in the message. So if you want to automatically download the messages, personally, I don't recommend it. I recommend leaving it this way unless you know who sends you the email. You can click on this little blue message. I apologize, the computer's running a little slow at the moment. I just want to check in, make sure that everyone can still see and hear what I'm doing. If I can get some thumbs up if the computer is still, all right, I got a hand.
Yes.
I got a yes, thank you. All right. Got more yeses. I'm glad you can hear and see me. I apologize. I don't know why it's not giving me the options. Anyway, when you click on this little blue bar, it'll give you an option to download the messages for this email only or for all messages in the future. I recommend that you just do it one at a time, because if you don't know the sender or trust where it came from, you don't need to download the pictures. There are, let's talk about email security for a second. When you are part of an organization, most likely you will go through training that explains how to be safe using email. And one of the biggest risks is actually us. It's us, the user. The people that use email are the biggest vulnerability in network security. And you probably read the headlines of newspapers all the time and say such and such data breach. Target or other big stores, credit card numbers, personal information left and right. Yes. And most of the time, the reason why someone was able to gain access to this information is because someone somewhere opened an email that they probably shouldn't have and loaded the images in there, either loading the images or going ahead and downloading an attachment. And it doesn't mean that you have to download the attachment and press run and open it. Sometimes just opening the photos themselves that display in the preview is enough. So I can't stress this anymore. If you don't know the sender, don't load the photos. So because we're the weakest link in internet security, I recommend you leave this setting alone. All right. Does anybody have any questions about network security and why they shouldn't load photos that they don't know where it came from? Hands up, anyone? Okay. All right, moving on. So we're reading an email. Let's just pretend I did download the photos because yes, I do know who Alignable is. It's a social network for business leads. And I would trust that the company is trustworthy. All right, So I have a couple things I can do. Well, in this case, let's see. We can always reply, but this isn't a really good example of how to reply. But we can also press reply using a keyboard shortcut. So on the keyboard, it's Control R. Except I'm getting in the other window. All right. The other way that we can reply to the message is by clicking on the message here, right click, and it's not letting me reply. That's why it's not working. So this is an issue where the unlicensed product is going to be interfering with me today. But notice that if you have this, it will be fully licensed or fully functioned for a certain period of time, usually 1 or 2 weeks, and then they'll pull back the features. So as much as I'm pressing the reply button, it's not allowing me to right here. But I can download my messages, but I can't send until I get this licensing feature resolved. All right, so hopefully I can still open a new message tab. No, we can't. All right. Well, when you get thrown a mulligan, sometimes we're going to have to go off script a little bit. All right. So as much as I want to show you how to deal with this, maybe we can skip ahead and do our calendar. Okay. Wonderful. All right, let's just see if we can make appointments and meetings. All right. I may have to switch machines on us, guys. I really apologize for this. As much as I prepped for today, I was oddly unable to get the licensing thing resolved. Okay. So I want to take a quick vote. Would you guys like to move on to Microsoft Teams, or would you like to take a quick 2-minute break while I switch computers and reset with a different machine so that we can continue? Show of hands for moving on to Microsoft Teams. 2 minutes, move on. Get a couple more. Still 50-50, people. All right. Okay. All right. So let's do, oh man, it is 50-50 again. All right. Well, I think we should take that 2 minutes simply because I'm not sure what we're going to uncover in Microsoft Teams. Yeah, okay. It's probably going to be limiting us the whole way through, unfortunately. All right. Again, I apologize profusely here. I've got the other computer right here. We'll just get this one spun up. During this 2-minute interlude, if you have to walk away from the computer, now is your chance. And if anyone has any questions for me, I am listening. So please unmute yourself, ask away. Okay. Okay. And we're going to go ahead and switch now. We are still recording and we are back on. So now we're looking at the compose email field. So you can also just type in somebody's name. In this case, you start typing and then contacts and recent addresses will appear. And in this case, you'll notice that I have people in here that are not part of my organization. So in this case, we just want to send a Maria test email to Maria. Cool. Now, you might also notice that we can see her current status, and that is this little tiny badge on her profile picture. So that little badge in right here is showing me that she's actually busy at the moment. So we'll get to what that implies more in a minute, but that connects to her Outlook and her calendar. And it tells me that if I send her this message right now, she probably won't read it right away. That means that she's busy doing something else. So I should just expect that she won't respond super fast, but I would get back to her soon. You also notice that the ribbon in the compose message window looks really similar to Microsoft Word, and it is. So we have all of our same font controls, we have our same paragraph controls, but we have a couple cool new ones right here, like attach file. Attaching files is super useful to emails, but does anyone know the limits for sending files? Show of hands, anyone ever have issues with attachment limits on emails?
Yes.
Yes. All right. We'll talk about that for a second. Now, next question is, who doesn't know anything about attaching files to email messages? And you can just give me a thumbs up or thumbs down or something. Just wanted to make sure that we're not forgetting anyone here today. All right. So when you attach files to email messages, it's a super convenient way that you can deliver the work that you've been putting in, like a PowerPoint presentation, Microsoft Word file, a photo that you took at an event, or even contact information, just simple pieces of information you want to send to one person or a group of people. And the attachments have limitations. First, there's size. You're probably wondering, well, I just took this picture, why won't it go in the email? Well, that's probably because it's over either 20 or 25 megabytes. That's the most common lower limit for email messages. And truthfully, you should really try to keep your email attachments lower than 10. About 10 megabytes or lower, people are happy to open the attachments on their phone. That means more people will be able to see all of the content you're sharing with them. It's just best practice to keep that attachment as relatively small as possible. And that's why PDFs are very useful when it comes to passing like textual information. For example, sometimes sending a Microsoft Word file will be too big, but if you prepare a PDF for Microsoft Word, like print and then PDF, the file will be really tiny. So PDFs are great for that. But anyway, so to attach a file, you can attach files several different ways. One way is by pressing the attach file button and your system dialog will appear. And in this case, you can literally just search your system for files. In this case, let's just going to open my books folder, and apparently there's nothing in my books folder. But we'll go to the Access Tech folder. And if we're going to attach this file called Word Cheat Sheet, then we can just press choose, and it's going to show up right here in the attachment window. So in this case, you can actually add more attachments to your email. You can add several. And let's go ahead and let's just add a couple logos, a couple pictures, and right now I'm pressing, you can press Control and click on multiple items, and then press go ahead, and boom, you can have multiple attachments. So this is a very useful feature. Now let's also say that, you know what, I need to send it to someone else too. So does anyone not know what CC and BCC mean? Because I'm happy to go over this real quick. Anyone want me to explain it? Just raise your hand. Subject. Subject is also important. So let's just call this one a test email. And just tell Maria, hey, this is just a test. You can reply or delete for this class. All right, Shatara. All right, so CC and BCC, and I misspelled the word delete. CC means carbon copy, and this is just like in the old days when we wrote on typewriters or by hand, and we said, you know what, I'm going to enclose another copy, or an identical copy is also being sent to someone else. And you can also add other people on this list, but for now, we'll just add Maria again. So it started typing your name and I just pressed enter. So you can, again, add as many people as you want to a limit of about 80. 80 is about the absolute maximum number of people that you should ever put in one message. And when it comes to messages for group distribution or marketing messages, when you have to send to lots of people, like dozens to hundreds to thousands or more, then we wouldn't even be using Microsoft Outlook. This is designed for one-to-one or team communications. Not because it can't do that, because it's just not designed to. And we'd have to make a lot of changes to make that work properly. But BCC, this means blind carbon copy. So let's say that there's a backup, like we can create, send a mail message, a copy of this message to a place that will not be seen by Maria. So we could also say that we're going to send it to the boss, and say, hey, I'm blind carbon copying the boss because they need to know about this, and it's a sensitive topic, and say it's a HR issue, for example. You can blind carbon copy so that the recipient understands that they're the one that received the email, but they would not see that the boss also received a copy, for example. That's what blind carbon copies do. All right. So we've got attachments, we've wrote a little message. Great. Now what? Well, now you can actually just press send. Well, if you really wanted to, but the other keyboard shortcut is usually just Control Enter to press send. If you've already done everything for your message, just press Control Enter and the message will go out the door. But you can also send later. By the way, the difference between my computer on Windows and yours on Windows is that my ribbon moves differently, but it has all the same stuff on it. All right, so in this case, what I'd like to do is send later. Now, anything with a little arrow on this means there's more information. So I have a quick option, just that are listed here, and I can also just pick custom. So if I click this one time, I can go custom, and let's bring up Boomerang. So this might be a little different on my Windows, or it's because I've installed it. So to keep it easy, let's just say I want this to send tomorrow morning. Boom. And now I can go ahead and press send. Typically, you can just press send. In this case, I've installed some fancy things that we're not going to get into today. But otherwise, you just press send. All right. Cool. Now, great. So let's see. Let's look at Cortana, by the way, if you haven't noticed, is your Microsoft assistant. Just like there's Alexa, Microsoft has their own, and it's called Cortana. And sometimes she sends you things and they're very useful, and sometimes not so much, but you can train her, but that's not covered today. All right, so, and the other thing that you'll want to pay attention to in your Microsoft Outlook is sending and receiving. Now on your Windows one, you're going to have a send receive button that's going to be right up in the middle or just to the right of home. And that send receive is going to bring up a pane that is all about sending, receiving, and synchronization of your email folders. Now, in this case, all I can show is sync status, but that's because this is the Windows version. But the other thing that is really important to look for is in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen to the left of the display settings and the zoom, and it will tell you right here what Outlook is doing. Right now, it's telling us that all folders are up to date. That is very important. That means that if I've reorganized information on my phone on the account, and that would get reorganized on my computer at the same time. So having all folders up to date means there's no new emails that have arrived that are incoming, and all of the message that I have previously sent have already sent. So in this case, it's up to date, it's synchronized. And it will also tell you what account you're connected to. Now, obviously on this one, I'm on the licensed account, so it's working just fine. All right, so if you do have synchronization errors, they will tell you. It's going to look different on my computer, but it will tell you in the bottom here that says error, cannot connect to server or something like that. And usually it just means your Wi-Fi or internet connection is down. Now, on my computer, and it's also exists on your Windows, and there's a way to work offline. So in my case, it's a little switch box right here. But on yours, there's a globe with an X. And if you press the work offline button, all it does is literally just allows you to manage your email, work in your calendar, and work without interruption. Because what Outlook is really good at is telling you that you've got new messages in your inbox. It's as if somebody walked into your office in the good old days and dropped a new paper on the top inbox or an interoffice memo. So if you just want to shut your door, focus on work, you just go to online offline. The other time that it might be useful is if you're ever traveling without an internet connection, without getting the alert saying that you're not online, you're not online. Well, flip this switch. This switch would tell you that it's okay to work offline without the internet and things will work. Also notice in the bottom right hand of your screen is that it's going to tell you when your last synchronization occurred, so that if you forget to turn it back on to online mode, you'll notice down here that, oh my goodness, it's been a day or it's been 4 hours since I was online. Whoops, I probably should, turn myself back on if I'm in the middle of the workday. But it also will tell you whether you're working offline. All right, so let's turn it back on. Boom. All right. So I'm going to go back to my home ribbon. Now I'm making sure that I'm covering what you guys get at the same time. All right. So one of the other super useful things is setting up an email signature. Email signatures is that automatic text that shows up at the bottom of your message, your outgoing message. And on my screen, it's going to look a little bit different. I would go to preferences, but on your screen, what you do is you go to file, and it brings up the Backstage view, and you go to options. And whenever you can't find something, you always use that search function. All right, so on here, it's just literally signatures, but you can always just search help and go to signatures. And it's going to open a help document based on signatures. All right, I see that there are some messages in the chat that I haven't been seeing. All right, cool. I think I've covered everything. Does anyone have any questions thus far? All right. So I'm going to go ahead and show you what it's like to create that email signature, though, because when you make an email signature, you have to choose, and you can have multiples. So when you start it up, it's going to look almost the same on your screen. It's the same layout. It just looks a little teeny bit different. So you just start with a new one, and it comes up like this. And it says signature name untitled, and let's just do informal. I'm just going to call it that for now. And I'm just going to say, because I already have my professional one set up, I'm just going to say cheers. Why I say cheers, I don't really know. It just sounds nicer than saying thanks or not saying anything at all as a salutation. So plus the English people do it all the time and it just sounds so nice. All right, so cheers, Cole. I don't even need my last name. And maybe I'll add my my email address just in case, or you know what, I'm going to draw a line right here, and I'm going to notice that it had auto corrected to a line break, and I'm just going to say, book a free consult. And then I'm going to add my booking link. And it automatically created the link for me when I pressed when I advanced away from the text. And you can check that it's a hyperlink by hovering over it and see what it is. So that's my appointment link when people make appointments for me. All right, so we've just created the signature, and I'm going to save it. That's the most important next step, is save. And we can now close. And if we tried to close without saving, it would tell us, save, do you want to save your changes? So here we go. We have our new informal signature. And then I have my previously made one that I made using a template online. And actually, if you want to make one that looks very, very similar to this, you can do one uh, like on your own time, but I'll show you real quick where that's done. I'm going to open, um, in my case, let's open Safari's, the browser, like Chrome. And it's called htmlsig.com. HTML sig, or HTML signature, is where you can make nice little professional looking signatures just like this, with or without your photo. It's up to you. And what I use this, and then I copied and pasted this into my signature, and that's how I made it. You can do that yourself too, and it will make it look nice and professional. Many organizations will already provide you with templates, so go ahead and follow your organizational template. But if you wanted to create one for yourself or modify it, now you know how. All right, so now we've done attachments, we've responded. Now, managing your email can be a pretty daunting task sometimes. So let's just look at deleted messages. So, oh, mine's gonna look totally different. We'll just stay in the inbox. All right, so we're gonna go down to ancient history, and we're gonna say that, okay, you've received messages, and now it's when you hover over a message, it gives you a couple different options. I want to make sure I give you the exact same information. All right, so it looks a little different, but it's still the same. And you can see that there are a couple little icons in here. Now, before I hover over it, there's a little paperclip. A paperclip means that the incoming message has an attachment. So if I click on this message, it shows up here. And what the attachment is, it's pictures. So in this case, here's that message, download pictures. I trust where this came from. In this case, it was just the logo for an appointment. All right. So in this case, again, no pictures are loaded, but you can go ahead and choose to download them. When you hover over the message in the preview, or in the message area, you can choose to delete it. You can flag it for follow-up. And in this case, this is move. In the Windows version, you don't always have the move depending upon the size of your screen. If you're going to organize your messages, say that we have a lot of these video meetings, and you might as well create a new folder for video meetings. So let's create a new folder. And there's a couple ways that we can go about this. To make sure I get it right on both operating systems. All right, so we can move to another folder. And by the way, it's only going to move what is currently selected. So let's just say that I select more than one, and I can select more than one by pressing Command or Control and click different ones that I would like to choose. And I can just do move it to another folder, type the folder, and let's just say video meeting. And on Windows, you should be able to create the folder that you type in. In this case, I've got to create it a different way. So on your screen, you should be able to make the new folder. Just confirming. By right-clicking on your name over here, and I think it should work here. Yep, there we go, new folder. So we're just gonna call this one video meeting. All right, so then I wanna put those video meetings in there, but you know what? How do I just only look at those video meetings? So let's look at the way that our view is. So we can actually sort by different methods. So in this case, I have my newest messages on top. All right, I'm going to show this in groups. Right now I have the focused inbox turned on. I'm going to turn that off. And now it shows me what came in today, yesterday, and I can also collapse today, yesterday, Saturday, Friday, Thursday, and so on and so forth. And I'm viewing by conversations. What conversations means is that anytime you send a message and receive a message, it's called a thread or a conversation. And that back and forth messages that it's designed to keep all of those messages together in a group. So that makes it really easy to keep track of your messages. Okay, we got to keep moving quicker here. So in this count, in this case, you can also just uh, sort by who it's from, and this will automatically uh, do it alphabetically, and you can change which way it works. You can do it by status, and status is read or unread, forwarded, replied to. And there's a whole bunch of ways that you can do this. I'm going to go ahead and turn on focused inbox, and this applies the Microsoft advanced artificial intelligence, and that way it can figure out what is or should not be, in my view, what should or should not get my attention, and the other stuff like most likely spam. If you look here, I haven't looked at many of these things, and these are just repetitive messages that always arrive in your inbox that are really not that important. So they're not considered part of the focused inbox. And you can train what shows up in the focused inbox by progressively not looking at these messages or deleting them. So in this case, I want to look again by date received. And that's another way that you can view them. And if you look at it by date, that means everything's organized by date instead of in conversations. So I'm going to go ahead and turn back on conversations, because that way I can keep the messages organized better. All right. So now we've gone through how to organize that a little bit. Well, I also just want to search in my current mailbox. And in this case, you can just search right up here on Windows. You can actually just search the current mailbox, and then you can, by the way, the whole mailbox is everything here. Like all of these folders can be searched all at the same time. All right, in my case, it's a little different. I think I just do not filter, but in my case, I can also just do Control F and find, and I want to do video meeting. And that searches in the message, not all the messages. All right, so when you do the search, just say that I wanted video meetings. In that case, oh, there it is, video meetings. Any message that has the words video meetings in it will show up down here. And that's a lot of messages. So you can also search by sender. In this case, I'm going to type in from Setmore, which is where my video meetings are booked. All right, so now I just want to take all of these, and I'm just going to press Shift and click down here, and I can select everything like that. And I can drag and drop them into my video meetings folder. That's one way that you can move them. Now, the other way that you can move them is by using the Move button. And in this case, it has my most recent move. So I'm going to go ahead and press move it there. Boom. If I go to the video meeting folder, you'll notice that they're also in here. So the inbox is special. And sometimes your inbox will show your messages here with or with not being read. So for example, if I also filter my messages by being read or not, I can only show my unread conversations. And this is very useful. So if I go to video meetings, they're still here. Go back to my inbox, still there. All right. Now, you'll also notice that there are ways to categorize your messages. So in this case, you can ignore the message. You can categorize it as junk. I'm just going to press it as junk. And you're going to be teaching your Microsoft account what is and is not important to you, what should or should not be focused. All right. So you can also categorize your messages as read and unread. So even though I have already opened it and I'm going to double click on it and you can see all of the message right here. And yes, these are the question from our PowerPoint quiz. And yes, their answers are down there, so don't peek. But you can also move it and we can also categorize it. Rules are one of the big time-saving things. So edit rules. We just created a new folder and I found that there are a whole bunch of other rules. So let's do a new server rule. All right, so server-side rules are really important. And it should look pretty darn similar on your computer. Press the add rule button. The add rule button will be a little bit different. In this case, received from Setmore. And so from contains add search term Setmore. And then I'm also going to add another part of the rule. The subject contains, and we're going to say video meeting. Okay. And we're going to move this to a folder, not copy or delete or forward. There's many different things that we can do. Let's move this to our video meetings folder. Great. Now, do not apply other rules to messages that meet the same conditions. All right. And then you can also add exceptions for that. Like, oh, turns out Setmore also sends me a message with video meeting, but in my case, they don't. So I want to keep this enabled, don't apply it to other things, and press OK. Cool. So received from Setmore, and that's going to happen at the server versus the client. Remember what I mentioned earlier? Server and client. We are working on the client, and our server is that computer that lives in the cloud, that lives in somebody else's warehouse, for example. We want the server to choose where our mail goes, not the client. Because if we have the client make the rule, that means our computer has to be turned on, connected to the internet, and Outlook has to be open and running all the time in order for it to process the rules. And you know what? We're not going to be sitting in front of our screens all day. So let the server do all the work and let's focus on what we need to focus on and let Outlook work for us. All right, so that's it. That's how we set up a rule. And I'm pressing save, boom. All right, so now anything with video meetings as it arrives will then automatically be put here. Notice that there's nothing new. That's because I haven't received another appointment reminder or booking request or something like that. So that's how you set up rules, and sky's the limit when it comes to rules. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and press send and receive. All folders are up to date. Great. All right, going back to my inbox, and if you press the home button on your keyboard, you can automatically go right up to the top. So that's another one of my favorite shortcuts. Control enter to send a message, but pressing home goes straight to the top of the list, so you can always see where you are. All right, cool. So Microsoft Outlook is incredibly powerful, and it can even do your calendar. Now, calendars are super important because you can create appointments just for yourself. Click on new appointment, and let's just say dental checkup.
And location, you can actually type in a real, I was going to type in Innovative Smiles. And it's, if you click on the little picture of a calendar, it tells you when. So it's going to be next Wednesday, and it's not going to be at 5. Let's say 3 p.m. Great. So reminder, show as busy. Yes, I do not. And then recurrence. Yeah, let's set up a recurring dental checkup for every 20 weeks. And the duration of this will be an hour and a half because my teeth are dirty. I don't know. All right. So every 20 weeks, for 20 weeks. So if I really just want it monthly, I can do monthly on day 24. I can do on the 4th Friday. There's many different ways that you can repeat your calendar appointments to organize your life a little bit better. So let's just say for every, and I'm just going to do 2 months because it's a test. All right, 3 to 4:30. Okay. And then let's go ahead and save and close. Boom. So now, if you'll notice, we have our checkup right there. We can also look at our calendar view several different ways. So we just made an appointment. We can go click on the month view, and you can see that on this particular calendar, I don't have very much scheduled. So let's look at the, I believe it'll show up in April. If we go to March, April, 4th Friday. And oh, there's my dental checkup. So you can see things at a glance. When you click on it, you see a little bit more detail. All right. And then, for example, this is one with way more information. So usually I like to look at the calendar in a week view. So in the week, you can actually just click on a calendar. So you know what? On this calendar, I don't have our next workshop. So I'm just going to double click right here, and it's set for 3:30 to 4. I'm going to change that to 5 p.m. But we're going to do Microsoft Excel workshop. Location, Zoom. And I'm just going to pretend that that's the right Zoom link. Great. And reminder, let's do a reminder, 30 minutes. Make sure it's busy. And you know what? I'm going to invite people to this meeting. So this is when you can put calendar events on other people's calendars if they choose to accept it. So this is where we're going to add Maria. And you can add as many other people as you want. And then you can say, join us, just a test. Please accept. All right. And you can put any of the other meeting agenda notes and such in this meeting request, and then you can press send. But there's another way to do this, and we can turn on scheduling. So when you're with people in the same organization, you can see how they've set up their schedule, and you realize, you know what? There's nothing scheduled there, so we can actually just move this meeting earlier, give her a little bit of time, so we can do this meeting at 2:30 on next Thursday. Cool. So go ahead and we press send. Done. All right, now it's here, and if we open the details, we'll see that Maria has not accepted yet. And we can also see that by hovering over or single clicking on the event. Has not responded. Cool. All right. Now, for some reason, it also thinks that I am in Washington, D.C. It is very useful to get your weather here. I personally think it's a great little feature. Okay, so that's the basics of calendar and email. Any questions with calendar? All right. And Maria accepted. Let's see if Maria Sharp has accepted the meeting. Great. Now, you're probably wondering, where does Teams come into all of this, right? Microsoft Teams is, again, something that will only or most likely be used in an organizational setting. It's not like instant messaging used to be back in the 90s where you could just sign up and get an account. You can, but again, you're not going to have access to the communications. For all of the remote workers out there, this is what Microsoft Teams is for. This is how people that don't have to go into the office every day or wherever they work and will communicate with their colleagues and team members through Microsoft Teams. So here you can see my Hispanic Business Center team interface. I want to make this nice and big for you all, everyone. All right. There's no secret information here, so don't worry. Okay, so from left to right, we can see, let's start up here at activity. So our feed is and activity. My feed is very, very small. And that was the last thing that happened and was just a couple days ago. And I can dismiss this. All right. So basically, every time you open Microsoft Teams, you want to start up in the activity and look at your feed because you will want to see anything that's changed since the last time that you've checked in. So, and the other thing is, as you can see, is chats. So chats are when you can have small group chats or as well as one-on-one chats. And this is designed to be something that moves a lot faster than email. Plus, it's designed to be real time and live. Plus, you can actually do video meetings just like we're doing on Zoom. In fact, Microsoft Teams is Microsoft's answer to Zoom. Zoom is actually done by the company Zoom. In my personal opinion, they are the market leader when it comes to really fast, good quality video chats with one-on-one or teams or hundreds or thousands of people, and you can do this worldwide. In my personal experience, we opened offices in Germany, in Seattle, and Cleveland all at the same time, and we had to have staff meetings, and we had to figure out when everyone could meet. Well, it wasn't really possible to get everyone on the same call at the same time very often, but Microsoft did not have the Microsoft Teams at the time. There were others involved. Zoom is probably still the best. However, Teams is the best for the companies that are fully engulfed in the Microsoft ecosystem. Just for me personally, it's not the right choice, but I use it because this is what my organization uses. And we're using Zoom for these workshops because it does work better for this circumstance. Because again, Microsoft Teams is for organizations, it's for existing groups, but we can always create our own teams. So this is the Northeast Ohio Hispanic Center for Economic Development. That's the HBC. So in this case, we can also create our own team. So let's create a team. There are templates in case you want to use them. Say you're in HR, you need to onboard your new hires. This is exactly where you can start. So organize a help desk, patient care, bank branch, hospital. They have all sorts of stuff. So in this case, let's just start from scratch. So do we want this to be a public group? This is when, and you can only join public groups when you're interacting between organizations. Does anyone understand? Does anyone not understand what that means, between organizations? See, it says public. Anyone in your organization can join. Okay, so we have private, people need permission. So we're gonna have like a skunkworks team where we're gonna work on top secret stuff for some clients, right? Well, private, that's definitely gonna be private. Org wide, like Monday morning meetings, like, hey, what's happening in the company? That's probably where we're gonna do everyone there. So in this case, let's just create a private one, give your team a name, and I'm just gonna call it Skunk Works. And what is this all about? Top secret projects. And we press create, creating the team. Yay. Nice work. Man, they're really trying to make me feel good. I don't know about you. All right, so who are we gonna add to Skunkworks? Well, I know Maria should be part of this. There she is. So start typing the name and people in your organization show up, and I'm gonna add her, and we're gonna give her full privileges. Okay. She's the only one I'm going to add because I don't want to abuse my power here during the class. Okay, so Skunkworks, welcome to the team. What are we going to do? We can add more people, we can create more channels, or we can open the frequently asked questions. Well, that's also the other thing that we can do is we can press meet. Well, let's meet the team. And when you press meet, it's just like on Zoom where we can get started with this, except guess what? New channel meeting. We're going to change this to Skunkworks stand-up, not stand-up comedy. A stand-up is a type of meeting where you give a very quick update of what you're doing so that we can move through lots of different topics very, very quickly. And it's a quick update of what's working, what's not working, and where am I stuck? Like, I need help. So you raise your hand for help in these stand-up meetings, and then you go on. And that's what collaborative teams typically do on Monday mornings or every other Monday morning. All right, so let's go ahead, and I'm gonna use my computer audio, room audio, don't use audio. And yes, there are background filters. And this is where I'm sure you've heard of some funny things happening over the past year where people have funny filters and backgrounds. They don't know how their kids put them on and didn't take them off. This is where it happens right here. So we're gonna go and press join now. And we're gonna be the only ones in the room. Connecting. All right, so now we have a full featured room. We can add more participants this way. So in this case, we can copy a meeting link and paste it into a text message and send it to someone. We can add participants just like with email accounts. And let's just ask Maria suggestions, Maria request to join. And it's calling her. This is literally calling her on her computer and live to join our little call here right now. And it's okay if she doesn't answer. She really doesn't have to. But I wanted to show you how this works. And just like in Zoom, we have a live conversation. And we have the meeting started. And this is the chat. This is where the meeting notes occur. You can actually share files just like on Zoom. You can create little funny things, but thanks for joining. And I press enter to send it into the chat, and there it is. Thanks for joining. All right, and just like on Zoom, we can raise our hand and give feedback. And in this case, you know what? I'm just going to close my camera. So I'm gonna step away from the computer, and that's what shows up in place of my phone. So that's the nutshell. I'm gonna go ahead and leave this meeting. It's gonna end the meeting. I'm ending it for everyone. And that's it in a nutshell for how that works. Does anyone have any questions? I love hearing from all of you. Your voices are very important to me. Your chats are very important to me. I want to make sure that we're taking something home today that can actually be used in your lives. So now's your chance. I'll stick around for another 15 minutes. What kind of questions do you have? It can be related to anything we've done up to this point, or even just general business things that you've come across. Go for it, Lamar. And feel free, if you're in a quiet space or whatnot, you may unmute yourself or even share your camera. It's totally up to you, but I'm happy to there. Shatera, appreciate that. Yes. Add-ons in Outlook are the question from Lamard. And there are lots of add-ons. In fact, there's one really amazing add-on. If you don't know about it, I highly recommend it. But I might not be able to show it to you on my Mac. And this is one of the reasons why I don't use Outlook on my Mac. The add-on, let's go back to Mail. And so, okay, add-ins right here. It says get add-ins. I already have a couple right here, but let's go ahead and get add-ins. And the one that I want to focus on is pick time. Is that what it is? I'm going to search for time. Probably getting the name wrong. It's from Microsoft. Choose time. So it works just like Calendly, if anyone's familiar with Calendly, but it's actually built into Microsoft Exchange. But I don't think it's available on Mac, and that's why I'm not seeing it. It's cool enough that I want to get this right. If you bear with me for just a second, I'm just going to do a little search. Choose time, Microsoft Outlook. Find time. That should be what it's called. See if I get it. Because I wanted to use it in the past and it just wasn't available. And it's not available. So this is where you get them. In this place, I will, you just press add. And to be honest with you, it's going to be easier for me to show you on a website. But find time is a meeting poll. So in the case of trying to organize a meeting with many different people at the same time, what you will do is you create your new meeting, you add all the people that you want to show up to the meeting, just like you do in the to field with your emails, but then you ask people to reply with when they can meet, and they will basically vote on all of the available times, whether they work inside or outside your organization. So this is very, very useful when trying to coordinate people across organizations, across companies, and anywhere in the world, because it will also automatically fix the time zone problem. So called Find Time, and it's very easy to set up. Let's see if they have a specific sales page on it. Does not cost any extra. Yep, install for free. And all right, I'm gonna see if I can. Says I can do it on Mac. But I can't add it. So we'll go on. Lamar, did that? Okay, nice. So that answered your question. And there are lots of them. So if you do use any extra services that are out there and you have heard that there is an add-in available for Outlook, that's where you get it. Get add-in. It's right on the home ribbon on the right side. I've already installed 2 add-ins. One case is Boomerang, and Boomerang is just a way to remember when, like, to keep a conversation alive. For example, if you're in sales, you might know that if you've ever tried to sell to someone uh, in a professional setting, you constantly just have to follow up and check in where they are. Like, hey, I haven't talked to you in a week. You said to call you this week, and just want to see how things are going. If you're ready to make a decision, if you have any more questions on the product, I'm happy to answer those for you. Or if you'd like to schedule another demo, we can do so. And Boomerang just helps keep those conversations going. If you don't have a content management system, for example, but many organizations that have structured sales departments will use CRMs. Any other questions I can help with? And this, anything computer related, I'm opening it wide open. How can I help you today? I'm already thinking about Microsoft Excel for next week. Are there any things, any types of work in Excel that I can focus on to make it more interesting and useful for you? I've thought about doing a mail merge tutorial, which would incorporate Microsoft Outlook, Microsoft Word, and Excel all together at the same time. That's something that we can do together in Excel, but there's a lot of basics in Excel. The learning curve's a little steep, but I wanted to make sure that we had a comfortable understanding of how Microsoft Office in general operates. Formulas. Well, formulas are fun. Uh, but if Catherine, can I ask what kind of work you'd want to do in Microsoft Excel? Because there are literally hundreds and hundreds of formulas. Okay, budgeting was one of the other thoughts I had, was to build a basic budget or a cash flow statement if we are trying to manage our cash, because cash accounting and budgeting are 2 very different things. So keeping track of expenses in Excel is very possible. Those types of formulas are definitely something we can cover. Like the basic moving and arithmetic, as well as multiplication, division, averages. I can show you how to do an amortization table to figure out when your 30-year mortgage will be totally paid off. All that stuff is possible. And we'll cover, hopefully we'll get to variables. But there is a lot that goes into Excel. And the good news is Microsoft Excel is call it the big brother to Google Sheets. They're both very similar, meaning they're designed to work in similar ways. Uh, However, little brother Google Sheets is a little bit more limited when it comes to formulas. It still has more than most people ever use, but Excel can technically do way more computational stuff. Uh, ex, but Google Sheets connects with the internet better, as you might expect. For example, you can integrate Google Sheets a little bit easier into online quizzes and forms and such. It's just more designed for collaborative use. And yes, um, Microsoft Office does have a collaborative feature that you can turn on and use today, but that's beyond the beginner scope of what we're doing, and it would take another 30 to 40 minutes of each piece to go over all of that. All right. Thank you for that, Catherine. Any other questions or anything else that you'd like to be learning? What's the most annoying thing that you're having to deal with on your computers right now? Maybe we can start there. Yeah, I'm glad you do, Lamard. You keep the conversation alive. Thank you. I'm wondering if anyone here has ever thought of starting their own business or does have their own business. Tracy, yeah, I'm happy to hear that. So, which is it? Thought about it or have done it? All right, Catherine, Tracy. All right. I like to hear this. I get excited about entrepreneurship. All right, I'm downloading the screen capture. Sorry if I'm sharing anything here, but Lamard, thank you for sharing. What is your actual question with this? It looks like a pre-built calculator. Sorry. Oh, how to make one yourself. Yeah. This is going to go beyond the scope of our workshop, but I will be able to show you how to, like, the building blocks of how to get here. So there are a couple features that might be existing in here that we cannot see. Like sometimes, for example, pricing information will be on hidden files or hidden sheets that automatically get updated from the company. So it all depends on how sophisticated this is. If this is a file that's designed to expire, like you can't use this next year because the pricing is set for 2021 only, something like that, then yes. And Tracy, this looks like it was made in Excel. Yes, it does. It doesn't look overly complicated, just looking at it. It depends on how the items are set up. Lamar, is this something that you have on? Okay, we add the price and it adjusts instantly. Yes, so that's using formulas where you use one cell to um, uh, manipulate the rest of them. The problem with the basics that we're not going to cover is how to hide your formulas. Well, I can look that up again. It's been a long time since I've made hidden things in Excel, but there are ways to keep your secrets secret. You love Excel. Well, I'm happy to hear that, Tracy. Do you use Excel a lot? Gotcha. Well, I'm glad you have the experience of using Excel in another setting, like in another class. Oh, and at your last job. Okay. Yeah, honestly, for me, when I started to learn Excel, this is a personal story. Believe it or not, my grandfather taught me how to use Excel when I was 10 years old. And I know that sounds really strange because my grandfather was a little strange. Wonderful man, but he wanted to teach me investing. And at 10 years old, I didn't care and I didn't know what he was talking about. But he really did. He taught me the basics of how to use Excel. And I don't know if he knew how to do much more than he taught me, but it was enough to get me to a place when I was in college that I took my statistics classes in an Excel-based statistics course. That was difficult. That was probably one of the most difficult courses I took in school because everything had to be done in Microsoft Excel. All of our tests, all of our homework, everything. And I have honestly only a handful of times done more sophisticated work in Microsoft Excel than what I did in those college classes. It was in like organizational planning and uh, like reporting that I did that stuff. But that was also a long time ago. It was in 2007 that I really got deep into Excel. But I still love it and use it all the time. In fact, I use Google Sheets more often these days just due to the nature of my work. All right. It's 5:17. If anybody doesn't have any more questions, you are free to go. But I really appreciate your time and your input and all your questions. And I look forward to uh, helping you with spreadsheets next Thursday, not next week, this week, Thursday, same time, same place. And I'll see all of you there. And yes, Google Sheets better. It's just different. They are very very similar. The difference over the first difference is probably collaboration. If you need to work together in different locations on the same file at the exact same time, then I would recommend you probably build whatever you're doing in Google Sheets. If you are working inside the same company but need to work on the same file at the same time, you may work in Microsoft Excel and do just the same. Otherwise, you're left with essentially passing the files back and forth, and then you have version control issues. And that's why Google Sheets just can be easier for those instances. But other than that, they both work wonderfully well. They're like 90% similar. Like it's hard to find the differences sometimes. All right, everyone. Thanks again for sticking around. I look forward to seeing you all on Thursday. And if you're feeling brave, again, I'd love to see your smiling faces because after all, I feel like I'm talking to a mirror half the time in here. So I would love the input. I would love the camaraderie, and I really appreciate you guys. And I look forward to our next class. And I will get my licensing thing fixed so that I don't have to deal with the double operating system. I promise you that much. I'll get that fixed. All right. Take care. Bye-bye.